All right, Hannah, when I say the word hydration, what do you think of?
Water, dry mouth, fatigue.
When you're exercising, you're getting fatigued, what happens with hydration?
You need more.
And everyone's heard the Gatorade commercial, right?
Spend the last steps in the commercial.
When you sweat.
Don't just lose water. Use other things.
What I really want to know about that.
And
Welcome back, everyone. You may have noticed the format has changed. I'm no longer by myself, alone. We have Veronica here.
hello. He's no longer a lone wolf.
Yeah.
He's finally got some friends.
I've got a two-person wolf pack. So
There we go.
today we've got we're coming back with more videos, and we're going to change the channel a little bit and kind of gear it more towards all things health related. And I wanted to bring my techniques and things that I learned about massage over the years to viewers, and I kind of ran out of things to do, so I found that collaborating is a lot more fun. So today's video, the overview, we're going to first talk about mechanical stress. Positive mechanical stress. What's the next one?
Fascia release. Fascia techniques.
It's going to be this one here. What's the next one here? You can't read what that says. It's just something you did for many years.
Oh, resistance training.
Yeah. And then the last one will be,
I don't know what that says.
it says, I don't know what that says either. Different therapies that you can go do
Therapies.
today or tomorrow.
Okay, so we have, what is this first one?
Mechanical stress.
Mechanical stress, resistance training, and therapies to move forward.
Yeah.
Happy day.
Yeah, you can go do these therapies today. Well, very likely you won't be able to get scheduled because you can't just call and schedule something the same day. Unless you can go to the mall. There's always those people giving the chair massages at the mall. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it.
My name is Veronica. I am a functional nutrition specialist or a functional wellness specialist. So for the last 3.5, 4 years, I have been working with people to help them find the underlying cause of whatever is going on, whether it be weight loss or gut health, fatigue, just bad sleep issues, hormone balance, anything. I even help people come off prescription medications when, if possible, like we work our best. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but everybody's different. But
Disclaimer, if the FDA is watching. We don't do any of
care.
that. Yeah, that's impossible.
But yeah, so just helping people kind of find the underlying cause of what's going on and helping them heal their body from the inside out. But my background is strength and conditioning. So I was a strength and conditioning coach at Utica River Falls for 4 years and worked with their athletes there, saw a lot of different things that can be related to hydration that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So you can see how she's a great perspective and person to be. You'll be seeing a lot more of her on this channel. And we're all going to be journeying together to learn about all this health stuff.
Which is fun.
Yeah. We're going to learn how to heal together. So why would we want to talk about hydration in general? As we went over with Hannah, who was here, a lot of times hydration, we think about being thirsty, or there's always people saying, well, you got to drink more water. I always have clients.
Yeah. Or like people that like chapped lips while you're dehydrated, drink more water.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but that's not necessarily the whole story, because when you're hydrating, there's other things going on in your body too. I always, when I work with a client, I say, after the session especially, you want to hydrate because there's places in your body that, now that there's been mechanical stress to the tissue, keywords there, you're going to have places in your body that you can hydrate better.
right.
So in our first topic, we'll talk about mechanical stress. So there's good mechanical stress, and then there's not so good mechanical stress. So what would be an example of some good mechanical stress? Joints moving together. You say you go for a walk, right?
Yeah.
What's happening inside the joint?
Well, think about your ball and socket.
Mhm.
Like you have a hip joint, or your shoulder joint.
Mhm.
That when you walk or when you move, things are moving, so you're basically lubricating that spot to get them to move nicely and glide over the top of each other versus rubbing or causing pain or any kind of friction in there.
Mhm.
So like the more we move, the more lubrication, the better off our joints are.
There you go. So that's tip number one. Something you can do today for your joints is to move.
Literally just move.
Yeah.
Set an alarm on your phone for every hour. Get up and stand. If you work at a desk, get up and stand 5 minutes. Not even. It can be a minute. Just walk around the office for a couple seconds. Just move a little bit because your body wants to move. We are made to move.
Yeah. And if you park in the parking lot, you can park a little further away. Get that movement.
Oh, yeah.
And what's happening in the joint itself is inside of each joint, most joints, there's either a bursa, right?
Yeah.
Or a, what is that called? Well, synovial fluid in, what are those joints? There's synovial joints, right? What are those synovial fluid joints called?
Synovial joints. I
Okay.
don't know.
These synovial berries taste like synovial berries. So that there's a stimulation thing happening. Is it in the nervous system, you think? Fact check, Hannah. That's the sound effect of fact checking. There's no intern here anymore. She ran away.
She left us.
So there's something that's stimulated in the synovial fluid that actually replenishes the fluid, right?
Right.
All right. So that's what's happening in the joint. That's how we lubricate the joint, through positive stress. Now, what would be an example of a negative stress? How about breaking a bone? That's not very good.
Breaking a bone.
Some people have had that
fall.
happen. Mm-hmm. Or if we're at our desk and we're typing and we're scraping our carpal tunnel against the desk constantly. Just motions that are repeated in positions where the joint's not really congruent, right?
Right.
I get a lot of clients who sit a lot, so that their body's in a position that's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's another repetitive motion that's not great?
Honestly, well, you're sitting, but you're multiple movements. You sit at a desk all day and you're typing all day. Most people do not sit up nice and tall like this. They sit like this and they type. Well, that's stress, all that spine. Those muscles just get demolished in that time.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's such a comfortable feeling.
These overuse injuries can be occupational too. Some people.
Well, yeah, overuse injuries can be occupational. They can be done. Look at a marathon runner that's just, they don't give their body a break. They are going to have unwanted, not so positive mechanical stress that can lead to further injuries or more severe injuries down the road.
So are you saying that if someone's an athlete or working in physical fitness, that there's a potential to do too much physical fitness?
Absolutely. You can absolutely overdo it in almost anything you do. So find that balance to get ready to heal correctly and find the right positive mechanical stress to put on it to make positive changes is what you need. But you also want to be watching to make sure that you're not going too far and causing an overuse injury. Personally, for instance, I have an overuse injury from when I was back in high school. I was 16 years old and I was a water skier. I was a show skier and I fell, hit my leg a few times in the same spot, ended up with some nerve damage, and then turned into compartment syndrome because I was sprinting so often. And it was just straight overuse injury that started as a little bit of nerve damage and went into a full-blown issue that I had to have surgery on to correct.
So there's like a implication of balance here. Like if we go out for a stroll, maybe we go swimming, maybe we do just a little more movement. It's kind of those little movement, those little moments in the day when we go and we create extra movement. Those are really great for adding that motion, but there's such thing as also too much movement,
Yeah.
especially if it's repetitive over and over.
And that same thing over and over again.
Someone's writing cursive all day.
Yeah, or like even like an artist, for instance, like I make my own Christmas cards, and like if I'm drawing all day long, my hand will get sore just because I don't do it every day. And so like on the days that I spend 5-6 hours coloring or drawing or doing something that's artistic like that, yeah, my hand is sore then. Which again, some soreness is not a bad thing. Like keep in mind if you haven't been working out, like let's say you haven't been to the gym in a year, and you go back to the gym and you start doing squats and RDLs and deadlifts, well, the next day, you're probably going to be a little tight, a little sore. But the beautiful thing is coming back to hydration here is that being hydrated during those workouts and then being hydrated afterwards, making sure that you rehydrate yourself and get the right nutrients in, helps you to recover faster and helps you to feel better. And you're putting on, even though like you're sore, like your muscles, maybe your joints are even a little bit sore from your workout, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing if you recover and you do the right things to recover properly, which absolutely includes hydration. And then there are other things that are involved, but hydration is one of the biggest parts of that because keep in mind, your muscles are almost 80% water.
It's almost as if that's a factoid.
Yeah, it is. 79% is
Almost
the actual
80.
fact. It's
Mine are probably
almost 80% water.
76%. But I noticed that in the muscle of a person who is a certain level of fitness, they're exercising more. They're getting that. I call it, people call it the pump. It's hypertrophy.
Mm-hmm.
That's blood going to the muscle, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I remember things. So when the person has that hypertrophy, it has that essence of being full, the muscle.
Right. It's like a balloon.
And people will often ask, they'll feel really sore from their workout, but they'll say something like, what does it feel like over there? And I say, well, in contrast to people who are sedentary, it's less of these sort of dry wires that are happening.
Oh, yeah.
And more of this sort of kind of, squishy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even think about like your skin. Like if you're not hydrated, for instance, like your muscles, you can feel it. Like as a massage therapist, I'm sure that you can just tell when someone is not hydrated very well.
Mm-hmm.
But think about like even your skin. Like if I'm dehydrated, like really dehydrated, I can see it more in my skin. Like you can just see it in your body differently.
Yeah. Well, there's another interesting question that was raised when people were, I would have a client who would come in and their skin would be really dry. And the thing that they would be talking about would be how much water they're drinking all the time. And that was one of those. So there's a lot of misconceptions about health where it's like, okay,
correct.
I drink a lot of water. It's like, well, maybe that's not.
Maybe. Well, here's the other thing too. Like you can drink too much water. So if you're just drinking plain water and you're not getting some of those electrolytes, so keep in mind, like when we work out, if I go to the gym and I sweat, I lose electrolytes by sweating. So I can't just replace the fluid that I lost with just water necessarily, especially if I sweat a lot. Like if you're outside in the summertime and it's 85 degrees outside and you decide to go for a run, cool, man, you do you. That's not my thing, but you do you. You're going to sweat a lot. And you can't just go and drink water to necessarily replace that because you may not feel any better. We need those electrolytes, those minerals in our body to actually help to absorb the water and use it for what it's needed. Otherwise, if you just drink the water and you lost all these electrolytes, you're going to just pee the water right back out. Like it's not going to do the right things in your body. It's not going to do what it needs to do. Yes, it's going to flush some things out of your body at the same time. So weight loss wise, great, because you're flushing things out. But at the same time, if you're sweating a lot, you want to replace with some type of electrolyte. And there's a number of them out there that are beneficial. But otherwise, just using some Celtic salt or sea salt or pink Himalayan salt in your water in the morning.
Not iodized salt.
Not iodized salt. No, we don't want that.
Okay.
But one of those, like, just put a little bit in your water and that even would help to make a difference for people.
Is there anything you want to add on mechanical stress? So there's repetitive motion injury, and then there's happy, healthy movement.
Yes.
Get up and wiggle, y'all.
Just get up and move a little. Get up and wiggle. It's good to wiggle.
Woo-hoo. Ouch, my broken bone. I'll add my little blurb about exercise because I'm not, I understand the value of it for, there's a great quote. I always quote this woman. Her name is Ida Rolf. She's the OG creator of Rolfing. Strength is that which comes from the ease of motion. So I always thought of that of like how a joint can be strong just because it can move. And as we talked about in the beginning of the video, range of motion is impacted by hydration or lack thereof hydration.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about the muscle filling up, the muscle being hydrated, I always imagine like someone's got an old creaky muscle. It's like this little shriveled balloon. I don't know if this story relates for anybody else, but when I was a kid, like we'd find like old balloons in the drawer. We'd have like a balloon drawer, and sometimes we'd blow them up and then we'd put them back and they get like all old and shriveled.
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of imagine that sort of shriveled balloon like right at the end of a muscle where it's like a tendon. And then there's that when you get the pump in the muscle, it sort of gradually blows up that tissue.
Mm-hmm.
And say you've got 3 little tendons next to each other, they're all shriveled. That's dehydrated tissue. There's pain there probably. Mm-hmm. And then if you are exercising at that length, the far point of range of motion in the motion of the motioning, then you're pumping up that specific part. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where you get this popularization of people bulletproofing their joints, or like knees over toes guys, right. Really popular in doing that. It's not the first person to ever have done that, but it's becoming more well known. So that's my idea about how resistance training is hydrating tissue by sort of blowing it up from the inside.
Yeah, it's basically getting the body to move fluids through it. That's what moving is. So like anytime you lift a weight, or even going for a walk, like taking your dog for a walk, it doesn't have to be like a power walk or a fast walk or anything like that, but you're moving, so your legs are getting this blood flow that's going through it. Well, that water helps that blood flow. All of that helps that to move through our body. So if we're not hydrated, you're not going to move as well. You're just not going to feel as good in that movement in general. But you're also not, like, especially when it comes like going for a casual walk with your dog. Yeah, you're not going to be sore from that necessarily. But like you go to the gym, and like, for instance, I've been doing a lot of at-home workouts the last year and a half. So I finally am back in the gym lifting heavier weights again. Well, that first week back, man, my hamstrings were pissed. Mm-hmm. Like, they were so mad, and like they were so tight, and it didn't matter how much I stretched or what I did. It was just, they were just pissed because they hadn't been worked like that in a while. And even though I've done RDLs, I just haven't been heavier like that. So just body's like, whoa, well, I needed to do the right things to recover, which meant I needed to, I went and lifted my weights. So I did the workout that I needed, but then I needed to recover from that workout. So me taking my dog for a walk, super helpful in that recovery. Drinking water and drinking some electrolytes. So I just do the pink Himalayan salt or Celtic salt in my water, along with like some lemon essential oils a lot of times. And then I'll drink that. Sometimes I do it warm in like a coffee mug with like lemon essential oil. It's one that I usually do. It's right in there. I'm just kind of like drinking like warm lemon water. So I'll do that. And then I go for walks with my dog, because the walking helps my muscles to recover because it's getting the blood flow. Well, if I just go and if I do my workout and then I just sit all day long, I am so much more sore than if I were to move around. Because your body wants to move and it wants to work out that stuff. So there's all that, basically, like, think about when you're sore, you have all this material in your muscle that your body doesn't want there, because it's like you ripped your muscle apart and now it's got to recover. Well, the more I move, the more I can work that stuff out.
the first section of our video was talking about moving more,
Mhm.
and now it's saying that you can hydrate your body with exercise.
Yeah.
And to contend with the discomfort, or what would the word be?
The soreness?
Yeah, the soreness. That's more concise about what I was saying. I was going to say the detriment of exercising. You can do the first part. So you can. So these things are kind of working together in a cool way.
If you want to go nutrition side of things at all, if any of you know what neuropathy is or have heard of neuropathy, neuropathy is basically damage of nerves, causes pain, weakness, balance issues, feels like there's pins and needles in your fingers or like a numbness feeling or in your toes. Well, that's basically just, it's nerve damage. It's nerve damage caused from inflammation, but a lot of that has to do with hydration, because if we don't hydrate our bodies, then we can't get fluids down to where they need to go because they're too far away from where our heart is pumping. So if we don't have enough water, we cause even more nerve damage. We're in all this kind of pain that we don't need to be in.
This is a really cool topic because there's something called a dermatome. So a dermatome, if you go along a spine, there'll be these charts of like little colors, like which nerve goes to which part of the body.
Yeah.
This is more of a theory of my own, just through practice. But through if you've paid any attention to this channel before, I talk a bit about the fascia, and there's images of it's kind of the similar idea of a dermatome, but it's a fascia meridian. Mm-hmm. So it's how it's connected. So I'll have a client come in and they'll describe a tingling in their body somewhere. And, you know, if you cross-reference that tingling, usually if they'll say their whole hand is tingling, that doesn't necessarily fit a dermatome of the median nerve.
Right.
Sorry, radial nerve, median nerve, and ulnar nerve. Mm-hmm. They all have different parts of the body that they do. There's not one that's the whole hand. That's one example. But with the dermatomes, a lot of times numbness and tingling doesn't follow that dermatome, the nerve pattern. But I have noticed that it does follow the fascia pattern. So this is where hydration gets really cool. I've heard a really interesting description of the fascia in our bodies as a big gel battery.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've got wires, nerves coming through. And then there is the fascia, which is like a conductive surface. Mm. So when you get these layers of the fascia glued together, that lack of hydration, water is an electrolyte. So there's the minerals in the body. There's the collagen, the elastin, the ground substance, all those different things. And the water, you know, if you touch a fence, you get electrocuted, right? Because your body conducts electricity. So these patterns of neuropathy or tingling or whatever you want to call it, they're probably tingling, neuropathy aren't always the same thing, but they follow the pattern of the fascia. So hydrating tissues is a way to, so that's just something interesting. A theory I have is that that there is a conduction in the fascia itself. So if you're having a tingling issue, perhaps there might be a hydration problem.
No, absolutely. Well,
and not just related to like what you're saying, the nerves. It could be fascia related.
It could be something else.
So that's
absolutely. But like with neuropathy, like when the clinic that I worked at was still open, so that was Midwest Integrated Medical Center in Hudson here, Wisconsin. And when we used to do neuropathy exams with our patients when they would come in, well, one of the tests that we did with them was basically he put on these gloves that were basically to give you like this little electric, like static shock in a sense. It's almost like touching an electric fence, only not quite as intense as an electric fence, really. But like you would honestly, he would have me in the office purposefully. Oh, he did the exams in my office anyways, but I would be in the office when he did all of these exams, because if you have neuropathy and he touches you with those gloves, you should jump back. But if you have neuropathy, you can't feel it. So they would touch the gloves and they can't feel any of that electricity coming into their body at all. Like it's just the tissue is almost dead. So, and it's not getting any of that electrical sensation. Whereas they would even ask him, are they even on? And he'd have me come over and I'd have to touch the gloves and you'd watch me jump like crazy because I can feel it. But Or like we loved when we had like significant others come in with them.
Mhm.
Like one time we had a father and a son come in. So the dad had neuropathy and his son is there with him. And he's like a 23, 24-year-old kid. And his dad touches the gloves and he didn't feel anything. And Cooper was like, you want to try it? And the kid goes, and he jumps really high. He's like, what, Dad, you didn't feel that? And like, he just flipped. He was like, what? I can't believe that you didn't feel that at all. His head, like, they were on. He touches him again. He's like, I don't feel anything. Kid's like, seriously, don't touch me again with those. But like, that's just like dead tissue. And it's partially from hydration levels.
Okay. Yeah. So we have hydration of the. So what did you say it was? It was with the nerve. It's like
it basically the nerve is ending is dying.
The nerve ending.
That nerve is actually, so like you think about like your nerves that they start internally and they kind of spread through your body, right? Well, they go down. So like your heart pumps here in the center of your body, right? Well, if you only drink 8 ounces of water a day, think about like, let's just use a little analogy here.
Or what's the other one? The 8 glasses of water.
Yeah. So if you only drink 8 ounces of water a day, you've got this heart here and you only have 8 ounces to spread. Well, it can only, that 8 ounces can only spread so far, right? Can only make it so far because there's not enough of it there to go everywhere where it needs to go. So I'm not like, this is not scientific. It's just an analogy that I'm trying to use to make it kind of stick in your brains. But think that 8 ounces, it can only spread this far. Whereas like if I drink half of my body weight in ounces of water, which is what you should be aiming for on a regular basis, then
kind of like
that
a baseline to start with and then kind of go with how you feel.
So everybody's a little bit different. Like working in functional medicine or working in functional nutrition, I've had a number of different patients that come in, and most people, ideally you want to be about at half of your body weight in ounces of water a day. There are people that their body's like a little bit more. So for instance, I weigh about 120, and so I need about 60 ounces of water a day. However, my body personally wants somewhere between 75 and 80 ounces of water a day. Granted, I will say like on the days that I'm working out or if I go out for a run on a warmer day or something like that, yes, I'm going to want more. Like I do want that 80, maybe even 85 that day, depending on how much I sweat. But if I'm not working out that day or if I'm not sweating a lot or, doing a whole lot that day, then maybe 60 is okay, but I still feel better. Like recovery wise, my body just feels better when I have that like 75. So like my body personally just wants a little bit more than the half my body weight in ounces. But the other thing too is you've got to be kind of careful with getting too much water because you can flush out your electrolytes, your natural electrolytes that are in your body by having too much water.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind too. Would that be that
experience when you like, sometimes when I drink water, I just feel a little like airheaded or?
Kind of in a sense. Like
it's not lightheaded. It's just kind of like, ugh.
But yeah, just a little, yep. It could be a similar concept, but you kind of just flush out your electrolytes if you drink too much.
So we've got actionable steps. Now let's talk about paying somebody. Like maybe somebody around here. I don't know. Do we offer that stuff here? If you're in the Hudson area, definitely come on into the St. Croix Healing Arts Center. Get yourself all the therapies you need.
Lots of them here.
Blink, blink, blink. Maybe I'll do a sound effect.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about your, like how you see hydration related to like fascial release when you're working with massage?
I'll tell you, it's pretty fascinating. The body, we got muscles, right? They're all surrounded, the bones are all surrounded by this very vast web of fascia. Fascia is a ground substance. I call it a goo. It's an elastin. It what allows your hand to do this. Whoa. And then the collagen, which, there's type collagens in bone too. So varying from more squishy to more concrete type structural stuff. Anyway, there's a muscle and a muscle. They're both wrapped in fascia and they go like this. If the nervous system gets tired, say you fatigue a muscle or injure a muscle by perhaps a repetitive motion, or you're not even just injuring the muscle, but you are doing the same motion over and over, the body actually adapts to do that motion by sort of creating more fascia threads in that motion. There's a cadaver study talked about with baseball player. He had this big grain going this way because he was doing that motion all the time. When these things happen, two muscles who were once functioning independently, one gets tired, the buddy comes in, says, hey, let me help you. They work together. It messes with the accuracy of their range of motion. Like they might be a little more of a ratchet motion versus just a smooth turn.
Mm-hmm.
So over time after that nervous system says, hey, let's have these two work together, they end up physically sticking together. So that's when you get a knot. And a knot is, luckily for people in my profession, not actually tied in a knot. It's just two layers stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
So when you physically roll them out, you're basically peeling them apart from each other. And that's usually okay because the body tends to overcompensate. It's very good at structurally putting things together. Like arthritis itself, osteoarthritis is a form of creating stability in the body.
Yeah.
So people always like think it's wrong. It's like, no, you need more stability coming from strength, which we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a stronger body, you're going to have less of this compensation pattern
Correct.
as well.
Yeah.
But in order to break your body out of that pattern or peel your body out of that pattern, you can get manual therapies like massage therapy, rolfing, myofascial release, anything really. It's not even that complicated. There's
fascia blasting is a newer term out there.
Yeah, it's very terrifying sounding.
It does sound terrifying, but it's not that bad.
Anything on the spectrum from nice, pleasant therapy to
fascia blasting, but
who do you work for? Torture.
But at some point, what we should do is pull in Amanda Riley,
the fascia blaster.
the fascia
Is she a
blaster
fascia
herself.
blaster?
She is, in fact,
The
and she
fascia
does it.
blaster guru.
It's pretty. And like I was thinking, so I've actually had a fascia blast session done, and
Blast.
but it's
Nice
not like
blast
it's not like it. I'm thinking like, so when I was a strength coach, I used to roll on PVC pipes. Like we had the PVC pipe that was like this big, and we used that as a foam roller, basically. Let me tell you, when your hamstrings are sore, or like rolling out your IT band, oh man, that is just not like the most comfortable thing in the whole world. Like it is.
I have opinions on that.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite thing. But so I'm thinking like, I'm going into this session thinking like, this is going to be painful. I'm going to come out with like bruises, like cupping, like after your cupping done and you have all these like, just anything like that. I just think I was going to have bruises everywhere. And like, it was not even as intense it's not even close to as intense as a sports massage.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
Mm.
So she uses different tools, but basically she's going down and just working the fascia to get it to move and to release tension from it.
Yeah, there was something I did once called a connective tissue massage. I don't believe she's practicing anymore, but it was actually very light, and then it just kind of progressively got a little harder, and it followed those meridians I was talking about, and I felt taller afterwards.
Yeah, it basically just loosens your fascia. I felt just like my body felt better in general afterwards.
So there's massage therapy, there's fascia blasting, and then there's the things like that. Some places it's called Graston, some places it's called gua sha.
Yeah.
But it's muscle scraping.
Yeah, muscle scraping.
It'd be like yoga or Pilates. I like Pilates more than yoga.
I actually like to mix the two together.
Whoa.
When I was at River Falls, I actually taught a yoga Pilates class, is what I called it.
That's yoga blasphemy.
And basically just yoga and Pilates combined. So you do some core stability and you do some yoga. And it's just, I had a number of people that really, really liked that class. It was kind of nice. But that is a really nice way, like just stretching in general. I do not know this stat, but
buzzword there too. Stretching is another one.
Just stretch. I don't know like the actual number on this, but I would guess that over half of our population does not stretch on a regular basis. And I would guess
probably
that
72%.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, we're like 72, 73% of us that don't stretch.
An intern fact check that.
I honestly have no idea what that percentage is, but just from working at the clinic at that functional medicine clinic, we did rehab. We worked with we had a lot of nutritional patients. We also had chiropractic patients, myofascial release. We had rehab with neuropathy patients, and just people that had injuries in general. So for the 4 years that I was there, watching the people come in through rehab and taking everybody that came in and did a rehab program with us, the first day of that program was a stretch routine. Probably somewhere between 80 and 90% of those people that we went through that stretch routine with on that first day, you could tell they have not stretched for years. Go back to neuropathy for a second. And lack of blood flow, lack of hydration to your nerves, and then you don't stretch. Well, if you don't stretch and move that fascia, how does the blood flow get there? How does the hydration get to those nerves?
If people are thinking that this topic sounds, like, yeah, I've heard that before, it's really still kind of cool to be a part of, because the term myofascial, that term wasn't coined until like the year 2000.
No, it's a newer term.
Well, and it was the stuff that they were trying to get out of the way so they could look at the nerves.
Yeah,
and
basically
with that blood supply, that's another part of it too. So stretching is great. It's not just for people who are training to be ninjas. Yes,
there's a lot of people that do yoga in this world. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that do yoga, but of the people that don't actually do yoga on a consistent basis. So if you don't go to a yoga class or a Pilates class, you do stretching naturally, probably because you're doing yoga, which is generally stretching.
Terry, who you'll meet tomorrow, who's going to do potentially some classes, she's a big fan of at the martial arts place in town. She's a big fan of dynamic stretching.
Yes. Oh yeah, and I mean, like
keeping it, especially if you're going to be doing
correct. So like if
the number 2 thing in our list.
Yeah. So if you're going to be going and lifting weights, I don't want, like when I was a strength coach, to warm up my athletes, I'm not doing stretches prior. I'm not doing holding stretches prior. I'm not doing static stretches. So I'm not sitting here and reaching for my toes and holding that for 10 count or whatever the case is. No, I'm going to be doing more movement style stretches so that I can get my body warm and ready to move. Because if you're doing static stretches or like a lot of long hold stretches prior to a workout or prior to a lift especially, or even a run, actually your increase for injury
I remember reading about that.
Significantly higher because of your so think of your muscle being like this, it's set together. You do a stretch and you hold it, the longer you hold it, the more it kind of comes apart. Well, you need a certain amount of resistance in that muscle so that you don't end up tearing or straining or doing something else to it. So doing dynamic stretches like walking lunges or like, I don't do forward walking lunges, just walking lunges are fine. But if you're just doing forward lunges and coming back, I don't love that just because a lot of people do them wrong and they put a lot of stress on their knees. Yeah. So I'll do reverse lunges, then I'll touch my inside elbow to the ground. Well, it's warming up my hips, it's warming up my legs, it's warming up my back, and it's warming up my upper body because I'm doing this twisting rotations at the same time. So walking and bringing the back leg up, one leg up, so that you can stretch out the hamstring, or just doing leg kicks in the front or something like that. That's going to stretch your hamstring out versus just holding that stretch for a long period of time.
Because in general, if you're holding the stretch, the sort of the configuration of which muscles are where in relation to each other is the same the whole time. And with dynamic stretching, there's less time stretching, but there's more gliding of the layers.
Correct. That gliding happens, that lubrication happens. So it gets your body warm. Well, also think about like, if you're just sitting on the ground and stretching and like doing different leg stretches or whatever the case is, how warm did you get while you were doing that? Probably not super warm.
Yep.
But if you're doing dynamic stretches and actually moving around and like doing lunges or whatever the case is, your body core temperature rises, which makes your muscles warm. And then that also brings your injury
when we got to remember
down.
A muscle is 3D too. So if you have this big deltoid here, the upper fibers are going to contract through different parts of the range of motion. And when you contract, when the muscle fills up, there's all these little spindles together that are that are also differentiating. I like the word differentiating between tissues. So
Yeah.
it's not just happening this way, it's happening this way.
Yeah.
So it's
Like,
good warm up.
and same with like the range of motion. Like look at like if you do like a dumbbell floor press versus a dumbbell press on a bench. So if I'm laying on the floor and I'm doing a bench press, well, I'm at the floor. I can't go any farther than this. Like I go up, I come down, and that's where I stop because the floor is there. I can't do anything else. But if I'm on a bench and I'm able to come down like this, well, look how much more just got moved versus here. I have that much more range of motion that I got to lubricate in that movement. So those muscles just kicked in a little bit more.
So yeah, extra distance. So I'm sold on dynamic stretching.
That's good news. You should do it. It's good for you.
So our main takeaways from this, it's called a hydration inspired conversation about physical movement plus things that we inevitably could not avoid talking about when we're talking about hydration.
Yeah.
It's like
We get off on tangents.
yeah, it's called the weave, right?
Yeah, if you ever just hang out with us for a day, you won't know what's going on probably by the end of it.
So yeah, it's like trying, like I said, whenever we're having a meeting for the center here and we're talking about, we're not allowed to use the word marketing. And I used it the other day and you called me and I was like, dang it.
You just said I couldn't use that
It's
word.
like trying to talk about hydration without talking about drinking water or minerals. So we will be talking about those things in the next series coming in. So, but our actionable steps. Avoid too much repetitive motion. If you have to get a new job, that's just what that's your life. You got to live.
Good luck.
Life coaching here too. That word always gave me a bit of the creeps. Life coach, because I'm doing so well. Okay, so don't be moving too much weird ways. If you can avoid that. What's the second one?
Move.
The
Just
inverse.
move in general. Don't sit all day if you can. Like if you've got a desk job, do your best. Like I have patients that we've got alarms set every hour at 9:50, 10:50, 11:50, 12:50, 1:50, the whole day like that, because that alarm goes off on their watch and then they stand up and maybe they just go to the water fountain and refill their water bottle, but at least they stood up and moved. Or I have people that I have them just do chair squats. So like they can't, maybe they are at an office setting that you can't really go and walk around the office every hour. Okay, but could you do this?
Yeah, and you're not necessarily
and just stand up and just do a little bit of movement. You could probably do that pretty easily and do 10 of them, do 25 of them, and it's going to make you feel better throughout the rest of the day.
And it's not necessarily
movement.
That's not working out for trying to get a big pump. It's the sake of movement for the sake of movement. Mark Sisson, you ever read his stuff? Mm-hmm. His bottom pyramid, he's got the movement pyramid. He's got, this is good. He's got the move around a lot at a low level of aerobic activity, lift heavy things, and then sprint every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But he added at the very bottom a bigger one called play. So find something you like to do. Yeah.
Yes, go play. Like
dance.
It's so much more fun if you can. Like
in your car, you can dance.
When you talk to people going, I have to schedule time to go work out. I mean, some people love going to the gym. I personally, as a strength coach, I am so happy that I'm back in the weight room and lifting heavier weights again versus just lifting, up to maybe 115 pounds.
This is our other thing too. The next usable thing is resistance training.
Yeah.
Segue. Very good segue. Don't use a segue.
But going to the gym, like great. If that's something that you love, that's fantastic. But if you're someone that really hates the gym, maybe that's not the best spot for you to get movement or physical activity. Maybe it's like, I go outside. I've got a husky German Shepherd. You guys will meet him at some point. His name is Motley. He is a cheese ham. And we just go and play out in the yard. Like I chase him and he chases me and we just run. And after doing that for 20 minutes, I've probably done 10, 15 sprints. They were short sprints, but they were still sprints.
I didn't
even think about it.
I kind of think of it as who cares cardio.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're doing cardio or whatever, but
Yeah.
who cares? 'Cause
Yeah, it's like
you don't have to.
you're not like scheduled cardio, but you're just going and playing, and it's so much more fun to play. So if you got a pet, or if, I mean, you have a little kid, like go and play tag with your little one.
Imaginary friends.
That also works. I mean, I talk to myself all the time.
You know, before you came to this channel, it was just me.
Just him on. Now he's got a friend.
I'm a
But
real
yeah,
boy.
like just move and like play and find something that you enjoy. So like pickleball. In the last 8 years, pickleball has become
Oh, yeah.
a huge thing, especially in our senior population, which I think is one of the best things in the world.
Well, in China, they have playgrounds for people who are what we would
Yeah.
call senior citizens.
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird.
Playground,
I mean, like,
but like,
cool.
yeah, it's fun though. But think about that. Like, if you could just play all the time,
You can.
just go and play.
You'll figure out. Let us know how you play all the time in the comment section.
Yeah, how do you go and just play and have a good time, and whether it's tag with your little kid or playing with your pet, or I don't know, pickleball. Like I said, for seniors has been a huge thing because, well, they get forward, backward, and side to side movements that a lot of them are not getting on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So
And if you're not a senior citizen, you can also
still play pickleball.
Pickleball.
You don't want to see
just
me
don't tell people you play pickleball.
pickleball.
I'm just kidding. I played pickleball a couple times. It was really fun.
It is actually really fun. I'm not very good at it, but it's fun.
Badminton. Anyway, so we can play, move, resistance train. You can go to your local movement therapist, massage therapist. Yeah, if you like them, you know.
Well, here's the other thing you can do at home too, as far as like releasing some of your fascia, is get a foam roller.
And it would almost be really cool if there was like somewhere on YouTube that there were like 20-minute myofascial integration sessions just for free.
I wonder where you find those.
I don't know.
It's crazy. But yeah,
on the
that
channel before you were here.
would. Yeah.
So if you like this kind of conversation, subscribe
my
to the
moments.
channel. So I'm thinking of calling this channel. It's expanding so far. It's not just me anymore. I think How to Heal might be good.
How do you what are you doing?
Yeah, so we might call it that. Let us know what you think, what to call this channel, or if there's things you want to see us discuss
Certain topics, yeah.
to help you to find ways that you can learn to heal. And if you're part of the Hudson area, there's a community here that you can come be a part of, and we're going to be offering classes at the center. And there's lots of practitioners. There's Reiki healing, there's massage therapy, there's nutrition, counseling, and infrared saunas, float therapy, and some sound stuff.
Sound therapy, yeah, sound here.
Yeah, we do it all.
Red light therapy.
Red light, infrared light.
Mhm.
You can also go outside for that. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. If you stuck around this long, bye.
Bye.
High five.